Hello, hello, hello. Hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and this is how to get stuff done. And today I want to share with you, as leaders, how to be more effective and how to really make things happen. So it's called Leadership Beat. So you stick to that beat, just keep doing the same thing. So let's jump on Cube. Let's see how things are done. So welcome to Cube, where the sun is always shining, as you can see through the window. You can actually see the clouds going past if I wait a few seconds. Can you see the clouds up here? It's just incredible. This is one of my favorite cubicles. I love the shiny floors. I love the reflections of the tables. It's like before you run a course when everything's pristine, and then the participants are going to turn up and you're going to have a great learning experience and they're going to go and change the world. So it's called a yellow room, and let's jump and see what we can find. So I'm bringing you to the small discussion board, and I've just selected the tab called Leadership Beat. Let's jump in. The story I want to start with is when I was a kid, there was a story, a fairy tale called The Pied Piper of Hamelin, okay? And I never understood why it was called pied, okay? I thought maybe he ate pies, but pied, of course, is like magpie. So it's two different colors. So I had to search for an image to tell this story. And boy, the internet is full of useless images. Almost all the Pied Pipers on the internet aren't wearing two colors. They're just wearing one color or a cloak. I mean, obviously they have no idea what pied means either. But the story is very simple. There's a town called Hamelin. The locals are suffering because there are tons of rats. This chap turns up and says, I can get rid of the rats for you. And they say, okay. He said, you're going to have to pay me, I don't know, a bag of gold or whatever it is. They go, okay. So he starts playing his flute. So it goes, so he's communicating outwards with a specific tune to the rats. And so the rats all come and listen to the music. And so he walks off with them and he's playing his music, and he walks to the edge of a cliff and he keeps playing. Then all the rats run and fall over the cliff and die. Okay, so he goes back for his money. And of course, the greedy townspeople say, money? What money? The rats are gone. We don't care. We're not paying you. Okay. And so it's actually a story of broken promises and the implications, because now he starts playing his tune again, but it's a different tune. This one's beep, 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 or something like that, okay? But this time, all the kids find that their legs start wanting to dance, a bit like the rats came along. So all the children in the town start following him, and he nicks all the children, and they all follow him, and he disappears, and that's it. And so now we have a town with no children, which is miserable because they didn't pay their debts when they should have. So that's the story. But why am I telling you this? Because it's about leadership. He managed to lead the rats. How did he lead the rats? He played them a specific tune. He communicated outwards. The rats enjoyed the sound. The communicating outwards, in real life, he was playing the tune. So basically, his behavior was holding this thing. The tune was great. There was an emotional transmission. He was walking along, so lots of actions. And I can't tell you how the thoughts come together, but that's the fourth part, which is the beat. So there's a leadership beat. There's things you transmit and then your followers come behind you. Okay, so that's the first thing to remember. And he played a different beat, a different song, behavior, emotions, actions, and thinking to get the kids to follow him. Now, what's the next part of the story? Well, if you were wearing headphones, you wouldn't be able to hear him. So I've got this picture of this gormless chap with headphones. But that's not the point. The point is this. The point is quite simply that if you are listening but with headphones, or if, for example, the cable's cut or whatever it is, the message might not go from A to B. It might not go from the leader, you, to the people you want to follow. And what causes that to happen? Well, what causes that to happen is that there are different types of change. Okay, what do I mean by different types of change? There are changes where, how best to describe them? Not so easy to explain. There are changes where you know what you're doing and how you're doing it. I'm not going to draw it because it'll take too long. Okay, we call that paint by numbers, and you'll recognize it because when you know what and how, you feel comfortable. So there are certain things which, if you transmit in that situation as a leader with your beat, people absorb because they want it. They want, oh yes, you know what, you know how, I can follow you. But it never happened to you where it's really clear what needs to be done, and yet at the same time, the person leading you is making a meal out of it. Instead of just getting on with it, they're faffling around, asking you what you think, and so on. That's because they're using the wrong behaviors, emotions, action, and thinking for paint by numbers. Has it ever happened to you that it's clear to everyone, no one knows what to do about AI? No one knows what it is. They've gone and bought this stuff. We're all running around like crazy people. We don't know what to do. And the leader is pretending they know what's up to. And you're going, I'm not following you because you don't know. Because with that one, we know the method, but not the outcome. It's called a movie type of change. So go and have a look at the PETs called types of change, and then it'll make more sense. But leadership is about behaviors, emotions, actions, and thinking, the same way as the Pied Piper did it. Gets people to follow you, but it depends on what the tune should be, whether it's rats or kids. That's what I'm trying to explain. The situation influences the tune. So this is Leadership Beat for a paint by numbers. So it says paint by numbers along here. You'll see in the background in gray, it says behavior, emotions, action, thinking. You notice that spells beat. You probably worked that out before. So I've written here things which you should think about if you're trying to lead people in a situation where you're painting by numbers. You know what to do and you know how to do it, as does everyone else. So there are things like demonstrate experience. That's a great behavior. Demonstrate track record. That's a great behavior. In terms of emotions, communicate with goals, set the challenging standards, remove conflicts so no one's stressed, and so on. Be firm but fair. In terms of actions, define boundaries, assign tasks, organize, plan activities. In terms of thinking, be clear about what you're trying to explain, know what's going to happen, know the tools and techniques. So these are good behaviors to get people to follow you. So that's great. But how about you? How do you score? So I've got a little scoring thing up here, and I say, well, just score it. So this particular person is great at demonstrating experience, is pretty good at demonstrating track record, and then it goes up and down. But they're pretty rubbish at defining the boundaries between tasks. So people fall over themselves and they try and act, and then they stop following you as a leader. So what you do is you take this particular pet and you mark out what you think your strengths and weaknesses are, and it tells you literally what to do more of and what to do less of. So that would be for paint by numbers. You can read these faster than I can say them. Let me swipe downwards, is there such a thing? And we'll look at a quest, when you know what to do but not how to do it. And again, here you go, behaviors, emotions, actions, and thinking. You can see things like courage are really important. Things like being single-minded are important. Sharing the learning is important. Motivation. If it's a quest, it's going to be tough. You're going to make it. We're going to really think you're wonderful. Fame and fortune. So that's a quest. So that would be a different beat to run to, different tune, not rats, someone else. How about movie? I mentioned everyone's rolling out AI. They don't know what they're going to do with it. Different things. Like, for example, the most important thing is to be able to motivate people through relationships, because nobody knows what the outcome is. So you're going to have to persuade them. Then there are things which you have to do, like review the progress you're making against a vision which you think you might have. And the other things you have to be careful about are things like being prepared to adjust or modify the initial goals so you can get what you want. So maybe start off saying it's about AI, then you realize it's a culture change. So feed that in as well. Don't just get stuck with what you're doing. So the beat for a movie is different, and then the beat for a fog. Fogs are just quite tough. Why? Because no one wants to follow you because they don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it. So you'll find things like communication become really important. Be calm. Don't panic. You'll find things like building trust are important, and so on. So that's the leadership beat. You can use each individual one for basically auditing your own behavior so you can actually do more of what you need. And there's the sort of combined one, which is in the pet guide, quick guide for pets, which you can find after this particular session. But have a look at this, look at your own behavior, think about the situation you're in at the moment, and just remember that you're trying to play a wonderful tune for your colleagues. So play the right tune, they'll follow you, all will be good. I've been Eddie Obeng. This is how to lead in different changing situations. There is a quick guide, obviously, out there or somewhere. Subscribe, because if you subscribe, you'll get more stuff like this and more silly stories and more things you can actually do, and how can always be found on LinkedIn in our newsletter. And that comes out every week with a backlog of all the other tools and techniques. Bye.